Welcome to Outside the Box Reviews, where in order to help with the cost of these reviews, I only review for clients, not friends. And today we're looking at the Diamond Select Ghostbusters Select Wave 1 Louis Tully figure. And if you saw my previous review of the Winston Zeddemore figure, you saw that I had some issues with that figure. But those issues really came from really looking closely, noticing all the little fine details on it that just didn't work the way I wanted them to. I'll be up front here. Louis, this figure's got some serious issues, and I honestly feel like it was just something they did on the cheap side to throw in here and round out the wave. And I'll get into all those briefly, but first off, let's look at his one accessory, his diorama display base. And taking a look at the one accessory that comes with Louis, I think I have the correct base. He comes with a basically mirror image piece of the one that comes with Ray, and this is quite a large section of the rooftop. This is really letting me see that the rooftop display is gonna be massive when it's completed. This piece alone is very, very large, and then there's gonna be pieces out in front, I think pieces behind it. Just insanely large rooftop we're gonna get here. In this front corner, we kind of have an ornamental display piece with this flat surface that I think is gonna house the terror dog up here, which I guess is appropriate that this will come with Louis. Kind of a scaffolding side down the edge here, the rooftop ledge. Back here we have a pillar. This is actually something you have to attach. It comes off, which is nice, so if you need to store it a little flatter, you have that. But cool looking stone pillar back here. Very much fits that Art Deco look from the film. We do see there is a little bit of that brown shading in here that we got on the steps that came with Zeddemore, but it's kind of lesser on this display base, which is a little bit annoying. The plastic itself is gray with the kind of silvery white speckles in it. But then we get back here to the bottom section where there's kind of a stone or brick base to it. You can see that the texture almost kind of eliminates that speckled look, which I like a lot. It kind of gives it the right texture that it should have. And you can see back here there's another big little indentation here. I'm assuming this is where the archway will plug in. That is where you kind of see Gozer. Then we have these two clips that'll go to the middle piece for this. But honestly, looking at this display base, this is really cool, but I don't know where the hell I'm gonna put this stuff when I have it all. It just seems like it's going to make such a massive display base that it's just, where do you practically put something like this? It's insane. And once you finish looking at that cool display base, there's not a whole lot going on here with Rick Moranis as Louis Tully, or I guess in this mode, he's pretty much Vince Clortho possessed Louis Tully. You can see he does have the red eyes that indicates his possessed state. We have his glasses, which kind of suck. They float up on his face. I almost want to just glue them down to the bridge of his nose so that they don't fly up like that. They're not removable in the least, but they are rubberized, so I guess there's not too much of a chance they're going to just break off his face too easily. We can see there is some paint scuffage going on there on the side of his face, kind of making him look a little ugly. The detail on this one isn't bad. The teeth are well detailed, the lips are well done. The hair has that wild bedhead look that I guess is appropriate for the scene that he's most famous for. We get to the back of the head, there's some obviously missing paint back here that just really looks bad. Louis just overall feels really lacking. Going down to his shirt, we do see that he has, well, three shirts on. We have an undershirt down there, and then we have the yellow collared shirt, and then the blue button-up. And the blue button-up, I went back and watched the movie, and I almost wish I didn't, because now I realize that this is really not right for the film. In the film, he had blue, almost metallic-looking stripes going through the shirt, so it wasn't just this flat blue color that we get here. This doesn't even really have any paint shading to it. But there is actually a fair amount of detail in it in the film. And then the one thing I noticed as well is that I don't think we ever get this fully untucked shirt look for Louis in the film until the very end. I think that's actually, the shirt is completely unbuttoned, not the single button up here. What I really would have liked, what I think was actually in the film, would be to have, I think it was this side of the shirt still tucked in and the other side hanging out. It may have been a bit of a pain in the butt when it came to articulation, but I think it would have looked really cool and given him a more disheveled look. While this chest section is a soft rubberized plastic, we get the hard sculpted sleeves here with some good wrinkle details in it. Then we come down, we can see the undershirt sticking out, and then the one pair of hands for Louis are just these kind of open, do-nothing hands. Which I don't mind. There's no real reason to give him extra hands, but I am a little annoyed that they didn't give us an extra head. They really should have given us the scanner head, or whatever the heck that colander that Egon puts on his head is. That would have been a very appropriate alternate head to put on Louis here. Going down to the lower torso, nothing too interesting, just some brown pants. Not a whole lot of crazy detail here. And then we do have his brown shoes. You can kind of see either his skin or his socks or whatever the heck that's supposed to be sticking out of the top of them, but the shoes are actually probably the nicest detailed section here on this entire figure. For articulation, it's not bad. We do get a ball joint at the neck, so you can look pretty far up, pretty far down, and rotate his head side to side with that lovely creaking noise. We actually see there's a disc hinge in the neck, which is really good. And there's no real pivot side to side with the head. The arms are on pin socket joints, so they'll go forward, back, as well as out to the side a good amount. We get a bicep swivel. We get a single joint at the elbow, and you can see the joint is kind of squared off in a weird shape, so it just kind of has a weird motion to it. But that's nothing compared to the wrist. The wrist will swivel, but then when you go to hinge it, there's actually a rectangular peg in there that sticks out in a very awkward shape when you move the hand. I think that's just very odd. I've seen hinge joints like this done by plenty of other companies. I've never seen one that looks so awkward. It feels like what we have is a mid-torso joint, so you can crunch a little bit forward and back, rotate side to side. It also seems like he does have a traditional waist swivel in there. It's kind of hard to tell what joint's what. Legs will move pretty far forward, shirt being rubberized, moves out of the way. Can't really move it back at all. Can move it really far out to the side. Upper thigh swivel that of course kind of breaks up the sculpt when you turn it. We get double jointed knees. The ankle will move up and down on a hinge, as well as rotate side to side, and we do get a little bit of pivoting action out of it. And overall, I feel like this is one of those figures that kind of ended up being, hey, we're giving people these two Ghostbuster figures that are really decked out in terms of accessories and hands and all that stuff. We're giving them two big display bases, so let's make up some costs by doing something cheap. And you know what? I almost don't have a problem with them going a little less insane with the figure. I think it actually has more articulation than it really ever needs to have, just based on what this character does. I mean, maybe if they could have saved some money and done a single jointed knee and given us an extra head sculpt, as I mentioned before with the colander, that would have been a lot cooler than what we got here. And just the overall shirt thing is just really bugging me. I would never have noticed it before going back and watching the movie, but I am fairly confident his shirt never actually looks like this in the film, and now it really bugs me. But yeah, I'm gonna give this figure a weak not recommend, which is the same ranking I gave Zedmore, but not for the same reason. I just think it's kind of a nothing of a figure. If you aren't building the display base, if you don't need the comic shop versions of these figures, if you're just getting the plain old Ghostbusters, I can see this one being really, really easy to skip because there's not a lot special going on here. But if you're building the display base, he does come with a very large section of it, so you kind of need him. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, username Outside the Box Reviews. Also check me out on Facebook, link below. And until next time, if there's something strange on YouTube, who are you gonna call? Outside the Box Reviews.